This is Inclarity Podcast. I'm RJ Starr. It happens so fast you almost miss it. You're driving on the freeway, your blinkers on, and you're trying to merge into the next lane. The driver next to you sees it. They have plenty of time and space to let you in, but instead, they speed up, just enough to cut you off. No eye contact, no expression. Just a small surge forward to close the opening that used to be there. And it's not just them. It's you too. Sometimes. Maybe not always, maybe not proudly, but at some point in your driving life, you've probably done it. You've accelerated, so someone else couldn't pass. You've laid on the horn, not because it was urgent, but because it felt good to punish someone. You've yelled at the windshield like it was a confessional booth. You've said something out loud, something ugly, knowing they couldn't hear you, maybe even hoping they could.
So what exactly are we doing out there? Why does a simple lane change feel like a threat? Why does merging feel like surrender? Why does letting someone in feel like a loss?
What we call road rage is often treated as if it were a rare exception, a moment when someone snaps. But it's not rare, and it's not a snap. It's something else, a socially sanctioned place where emotional immaturity is allowed to roam freely, dressed up in urgency and hiding behind windshields. Let's start with the basics. A car is not just a vehicle, it's a container for the ego.
Psychologically, the moment you step into a car, something changes. The physical boundary of your body extends. You are no longer 5 feet 9, 170 pounds. You're 2 tons of reinforced steel. Your voice is louder. Your reach is longer. And best of all, no one can see you. It's the perfect combination for someone with a fragile sense of self, invisibility, and power.
This is the paradox of the car. It offers a kind of emotional anonymity, a mask, a metal costume, that allows people to behave in ways they'd rarely try on foot. You wouldn't scream profanities at someone in line at the bank for stepping ahead of you. You wouldn't cut them off with your shopping cart and slam on the brakes just to prove a point. But in a car, that exact behavior is not only common, it's almost expected. And that tells us something important. What you do when you think no one is watching isn't just a behavioral slip. It's an unfiltered signal, a direct broadcast from your emotional baseline. People lose their composure in traffic for the same reason they lose it in relationships, workplaces, and group chats. They feel their autonomy is being threatened. But unlike those other environments, driving doesn't require words. You don't have to justify your feelings. You just react.
When someone cuts in front of you or changes lanes too closely, it's easy to say it's about safety, but more often, it's about status. Who gets to go first? Who gets to lead? Who has to wait? These are primal social negotiations, repackaged in turn signals and brake lights.
The agitation we feel in traffic is rarely about what's happening now. It's about what it represents. Someone breaking an unspoken rule, someone not acknowledging you, someone disrespecting your time or your place in line. The psychological story behind it is this: you didn't see me, you didn't respect me, you didn't follow the rules, and I'm the one paying for it. And that's the dysfunction. That belief that the world owes us recognition, that fairness should be instantaneous, that everyone else's decisions are a referendum on our worth is not rational. It's not emotionally mature. It's the belief system of a 5-year-old with a driver's license. Emotional immaturity doesn't always look like someone throwing a tantrum. Sometimes it looks like someone speeding up when they see your blinker. It looks like someone riding your bumper to teach you a lesson. It looks like someone blaring the horn, not because there's danger, but because they don't like being delayed. Psychologically, these are not acts of self-regulation. They're acts of displacement. The driver is using aggression to offload frustration they don't know how to process. Maybe they had a bad morning. Maybe they feel powerless at work. Maybe they're chronically disrespected at home. And here comes you, trying to merge into their lane like it's no big deal, interrupting the one domain where they still feel in control. That's what traffic becomes, a fantasy of control. It's one of the only public arenas left where a person with no social power can feel powerful. You don't need a title or wealth or influence. You just need a car and a little bit of speed. Suddenly, you're not a middle manager or a parent being ignored by their kid, or someone whose boundaries are never respected. You're a force, which means that the person cutting you off might not be reacting to you at all. They're reacting to everything else they haven't dealt with. You're just the placeholder. Here's the hard truth. The more angry someone gets in traffic, the more emotionally fragile they usually are. That might sound harsh, but rage is rarely a primary emotion. It's usually a secondary one, rising to mask something more vulnerable: fear, shame, helplessness, disorientation, humiliation. The stronger the rage, the more it's covering. When you rage at a stranger for merging in front of you, what you're really saying is, I feel small, and I need to feel bigger than someone, right now. This is why even mild inconveniences can provoke such oversized reactions. It's not about the car in front of you going a little too slow. It's about the fear that you're going to be late, and that your lateness will make you look bad, and that looking bad will mean you're not respected, and that lack of respect confirms your worst fear, that maybe you're not actually important. All of that is buried under a honk. It's easy to say, everyone gets annoyed in traffic. But that normalization hides something darker. We're teaching ourselves that aggression is a legitimate way to feel powerful again. That conditioning doesn't stay in the car. If you get into the habit of speeding up to deny someone access, or yelling insults when you're cut off, you're not just venting. You're reinforcing a psychological loop. When I feel disrespected, I get to punish people. And the more often we run that loop, the more it leaks into how we treat our coworkers, our families, our partners. We become a little quicker to interrupt, a little less generous, a little more reactive. What looks like bad driving is often bad emotional conditioning. We see versions of this behavior everywhere.
When someone ignores an email on purpose because they don't like the sender, that's lane blocking. When someone rushes to speak first in a meeting to establish dominance, that's speeding up so no one else can merge.
When someone withholds praise because they're jealous, that's slamming the door before anyone else can get in. These are all defensive moves, rooted in the same internal panic. If I don't assert control right now, I'll disappear. That's what most bad traffic behavior is negotiating beneath the surface. The fear of being irrelevant. Let's flip it for a moment. What does it cost you to let someone merge? About 17 feet of road, maybe 3 seconds. But psychologically, for some people, that moment feels loaded with risk. It feels like ceding ground, like becoming invisible.
That's why it feels so good when someone waves a thank you after you let them in. It reassures the ego, you're still seen, you still matter. But the absence of that wave? For some, it's unbearable. It ignites the script. They didn't even acknowledge me. Next time, I'm not letting them in.
The emotional dysfunction here isn't about driving. It's about how little it takes for someone's sense of dignity to collapse. We are not just bad at navigating traffic. We're bad at navigating our own emotional terrain while we're in it. Traffic is a perfect mirror. You don't learn who you are when things are calm. You learn it when someone cuts you off, and you have to decide, do I retaliate or release? It's a micro-laboratory of emotional intelligence. Do you believe other people owe you deference? Do you interpret minor inconveniences as moral failings? Do you confuse urgency with importance? Do you believe anger gives you authority? The road answers all of those questions. And if you're listening to this and feeling a little defensive, that's worth paying attention to. Because here's the thing, the car doesn't change who you are, it reveals it.
If you become cruel, impatient, or spiteful behind the wheel, those tendencies were already there. You just finally found a place where they wouldn't be called out. You found a mask. You found permission.
But permission doesn't mean integrity. And just because a car is a private space, doesn't mean it doesn't shape who you become in public. So maybe the question isn't, why are people such jerks in traffic?
Maybe the real question is,
what kind of person do you become when you're anonymous, in control, and no one can stop you? Because whoever that is, that's you. That's still you. And that version of you is practicing every time you get behind the wheel. What if every traffic decision you made was training your nervous system how to handle power? And what if the way you drive is actually the way you live, just sped up, stripped down, and easier to see? This is Inclarity Podcast. I'm RJ Starr,